Welcome to Dungeon Craft. I'm Professor Dungeon Master, and this channel is about the best in independent games, and this is Independent Games Month. And the first game up is the EZd6 Book of Quests. It is a series of adventures for the EZd6 game. But even if you don't have that game, I will show you how to easily convert this into the world's most popular role-playing games. It's very simple. And I always found that the best adventures, I just really need to know the story and have it laid out for me, and I could kind of create the stat blocks myself. And the 18 quests in this book are absolutely excellent, and you can use them and easily adapt them to any game system. Full disclosure, I was given a copy of this book by the author. Runehammer sent me both the hard and the soft cover. I was not asked or paid to do a review, but I really like it. And on this channel, I review games that I like. I don't cover games I don't like. I prefer to focus on the positive, and this is a very positive game, so let's get into it. EZd6 from Runehammer Games is hardbound. I also have the softbound version. It is 150 pages. It is not stitch binding, but it is very good glue, and because it's digest size, it will have a longer shelf life than those thinner, wider books. So it's written by DM Scotty McFarlane, with art by Sean Bova and maps by Robert Rudnicki, and it is quite innovative, this book, and I will show you why. First, I gotta say, hats off to Sean Bova for this great art. It is so clever. It's not just a skull, but it's a skull with a horn, like it's a demon skull. And there are 4 sections. We had an introduction and 3 types of quests: Towns and Trials, Darkness Falls, and the Making of Legends. And I have played some of these, which I will talk about. We have Cartoon Scotty narrating some of our journey. First, in the introduction, he says, this is not a world book. Like, it's not a world like Forgotten Realms. These quests are generic. You can drop them into any campaign world. Scotty also offers the wise advice of keeping it small. He says, in my years of playing, I've realized that smaller worlds just work better. In medieval times, many folk never left their home village. For many of these quests to work best, consider keeping the world small, more like a state than a country. That is super great advice. Now, you can use these adventures like you would traditional adventures, and they give you traditional plot hooks, but they also group them into groups of 6, and you can roll a random 6-sided die to determine which adventure your players are going to play next. I love this idea. Now, Towns and Trials are the equivalent of low-level adventures, where the stakes are low, you're saving towns and rescuing villagers, that kind of stuff. Making of Legends are the epic-level, world-changing stuff, with huge monsters. And Darkness Falls are like the mid-level stuff. EZd6, the game, doesn't have a leveling system, so these quests represent different consequences. As players go deeper into these quests, the stakes get higher, but the math never does, which is really great. So Towns and Trials. This first adventure, the Beatdown Brothers, is typical, right? We have a map, but it's super functional, and everything is laid out in bullet points. So it's super easy to read and keep track of. I love the font size, by the way. And each section is broken up by quotes that the Game Master can use when speaking with the NPC's voice. And I just love it. I love headings like, here's the big festival. These are the 4 things that can happen at the big festival. Every one of these adventures has a D20 random things you can find and discover at the end. That is super useful. Pest Control sees the characters saving a town from giant spiders. It's really creeping me out. It's got that Gilligan's Island feeling. Anyone remember that old Gilligan's Island episode with the giant spider? Scared the crap out of me as a kid. If you remember it, tell me in the comments below. The Haunted Keep deals with undead. It's kind of Ravenlofty with some ghoulish encounters. And I want to draw attention here to the map. It's not a graph paper grid. There's no, you go down a 40-foot hallway and then you can make a left or a right, and left goes to the east and right goes to the west or whatever. Instead, it functions like a flow chart. Like, you'll go from the Great Halls to the tower, and if the players want to bypass that, they could do that and go to the ramparts. That's what I do with a lot of my games. I will describe a castle, and then I'll say you pass through a number of crumbling old rooms and decaying staircases, and put the players in the room with the interesting vampire things. And that's what Scotty does, and it saves a lot of space. You're getting a lot of adventure, 18 of them in 150 pages. Giant Problems sees the characters facing off against a rampaging giant. The Remains deals with a zombie invasion, and I just love Sean Bova's zombies here. I mean, they are fantastic. This is how you read these stats. If you don't play EZd6, strikes 5. That means they can withstand about 25 hit points of damage. In EZd6, a successful hit scores 1 strike of damage, and it's the equivalent of D&D of having about 5 to 9 hit points. To be hit, that's on a 6-sided die. That means there's a 2/3 chance that you can hit this thing. So if it had to have an armor class, it would have an armor class of something like 7 or 8. 2 fist attacks hitting on a 3 or a plus. You could just make that 2 attacks at +3 on the 20-sided die. And the rest of the stuff, like it needs no sustenance, sleep, or air, and cannot be affected by mental powers, is all laid out clearly in the bullet points. Plague of the Vermin. I actually played this adventure, and it is the best Warhammer adventure not designed for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. It features the Vermin. They're essentially the Skaven. They're rat people, and it is a city adventure with a little bit of a mystery, and then there is an underground sewer adventure, and the nefarious plot is the Vermin are creating this bubonic plague, and the players have to stop them. I played this scenario in about 3 hours. They move at a really breezy pace, and this one, highly recommended. Down on the Doom Docks, which is super creepy and atmospheric. It deals with a haunted seaside town, a lot like Salt Marsh, and the source of all the evil is this creature called the Rusalka, and you find out that it is a creature of misery and woe. Once she was human, but when her sailor husband was thought to be lost at sea, she killed herself, and her anger and rage lives on. But the thing is, her husband didn't really die. He is now the harbor master in the town, so if they can be reunited, the Rusalka will go away. And this is a really clever adventure because it can't be defeated with the player characters just beating it up. And I played with my players, Michelle, Maria, and Veronica, and they just loved it. They loved the romantic angle and reuniting these lost lovers in the end. And they said, hey, how come you don't run romantic adventures for us? So I've got a lot to live up to here. And the temple at the end of the world is an epic climax with giant scorpion beasts and well, this thing. And there is a lot of material, enough for a full campaign. 18 adventures, that is quite a bit of play there. The book is dedicated to Jeff Smith, by the way, who's Scotty's friend and the founder of MaceCon, which is now Mythicon in North Carolina. So we miss Jeff very much. That's a touching tribute. But this is a outstanding book. You can read each of these in about, 10 minutes. You think about them for maybe 20 minutes and be ready to play within 30 minutes. So great. The layout is awesome. This is the way a group of adventures should be presented. Lean and ruthlessly efficient. The EZd6 Book of Quests gets the big 2 thumbs up for me, and you can get it at the links below. Also below, you will find links to Dungeon Craft on Facebook and Patreon, where you can get bonus content and help me support my work. Until the next time, may all your rolls be 20s.